Sometimes I'll be like, Chen, you want to go like ba 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 ba.
I want to send in my Survivor audition tape.
Exaggeration makes profits for the people that don't know what they're exaggerating.
I guess the battery is low, but it sounds like wah, 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 wah.
Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. 2021 is here. I hope you guys had a great break. Let's talk about what we've learned. And you know what? I think this might be interesting because we all had like a break. So the routine was kind of different. We were home, I think, for the most part. Brian, start us off. What did you learn over the holiday break?
I got what's called an automaton for Christmas, and here it is. It's an instrument, and it sounds like this. I guess the battery is low, but it sounds like wah, 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 wah. But there's no like marking or anything on here. But like the note changes, it goes higher when you go lower, and lower, like the note's lower when you go higher. And they're very sensitive, so it's like a slight change of the finger like this would be like a half note. So it's very hard to play, and so I've been learning how to play this myself, and it's very like, I don't want to say annoying, but a little bit. It's a very weird sounding instrument, but well, I know how to play the piano, and I have like semi-perfect pitch, as in like I can hear any note and I know which note exactly it is. You know, I have this like I've had this like craving to want to play piano or play some instrument for so long, but I don't have access to a piano. So my friend got me that instrument, so I was like, oh, this is the best thing. So I would just like be playing for like hours, just like playing music on my phone and trying to match everything.
It looks like a toy. It
is kind of a toy, but it's also an instrument.
It's funny because before the break, I put Catherine through the ringer last year. I said, do you play? I asked her if she played an instrument. She doesn't have a musical background, but having a sense of rhythm or playing an instrument is like an incredible supplemental, what do you want to call it, exercise or something to video editing. And when I'm working with Chen, sometimes I'll be like, Chen, you want to go like ba 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 ba, and he's like, got it. We kind of understand in terms of pacing what kind of like a rhythm we want to set. So I don't think you necessarily, like, I have no sense of pitch or anything like that, but just having a sense of like rhythm, I think actually does make things a lot easier in when you're trying to pace something out. Catherine, what did you learn over the break?
Hey everybody. This break I learned the power of tradition. I love New Year's, no surprise. My family is Hispanic, and most Hispanic families usually eat 12 grapes as the clock is counting down for New Year's. And we always make a wish on each grape, or a goal of what you want to happen in the next year. As long as I can remember, I have been writing down all the wishes that I've wanted. I have a list that dates back to like 2005. And the goal, I was like, I don't know, 13. And to see like the goals that I have for myself now, like 15 years later, is just a great, way to catalog your life. And this year, my little brother turned 14, and he's caring about things he's never cared about before. So I told him about this tradition, and he got so into it. And it felt so good to pass this down, and us writing our list together of all the things that we want to happen.
I'm super supportive of any sort of mindful practice, right? Like, and I do think actually one thing that I love about what Catherine does is she puts it down on paper. I think that's actually really important, is to like get out of your head. Basically, we're just tracking. She's talking about tracking her goals and her habits, and that's great. I think self-auditing is super important, as you guys know, but I think it's a really cool thing with the grapes. Do you know where that stems from?
Honestly, my family has just done it as long as I can remember. There's no really rhyme or reason. Yeah. Oh, and you're also supposed to throw a bucket of water outside of your house to get rid of all the bad energy. And you're supposed to travel up and down your sidewalk with a suitcase if you want to travel more that year.
Oh
all
my.
these little things.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Can you share any of the goals that you put down, or maybe just the 2 or 3 that you are focusing on the most?
I would love to wake up earlier. Oh.
That's a good one. Give us one more.
Oh, I want to send in my Survivor audition tape.
Oh, that's so good. Yes. Well, good luck. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, Catherine. Okay. John Roberts, what did you learn over the break?
So my parents have been watching a bunch of different master classes. So I've been like walking in and out of the room that they've been watching these like different lessons. And I sat down during one of them, and apparently out of like the tens of billions of people that have ever lived on this planet, only about 550 have gone to space. Did not know that. Really interesting statistic. And I also learned a little bit further that early on in the space program and this like space travel program, you would think that astronauts have this like deeper perspective of life and the Earth and our place in the universe, but they don't. Like very early on, they had so many checklists to go through that they were just worried about surviving and not dying, that they just had to get through their checklist and then they'd land, and they didn't have this perspective. So it's really interesting to think that like there are only 500 people that possibly could have had this. Half of them probably don't.
It's interesting. What masterclass was there's an astronaut learn how to be an astronaut masterclass?
There's an astronaut named Chris Hadfield who apparently has this like groundbreaking world like view changing masterclass, and he's one of like the more recent astronauts to go up. I think he's gone up more than once. So listening to him talk is just, it's really encapsulating. So that's why I sat down, because I was like going in and out for a lot of the classes that they were doing, but once he started talking,
Can I ask what his class is?
I think it's about space travel, but it's also about like just different perspectives. So I'm definitely gonna check it out because of what I did here, but I have no idea if it's like strictly space travel. And there is an astronaut during Apollo 11 that didn't get to go down to the moon, and he goes to the dark side of the moon, and he's like, he must be the most lonely person to have ever lived, because when you're on the dark side of the moon, you have lost contact with NASA. So at that point, he's just kind of a man in a can floating around, and he can't even talk to Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin. So,
I think that, and it's one of those things where like, and you have to be trained enough to also just like trust you're gonna come back around, you know, like trust that it's all gonna work out. You're not just gonna float on into the abyss. So I think there's a lot, obviously, man. And I'm definitely, so I have a buddy of mine who is, and he's said it 1,000 times, he's like, if there's ever an opportunity, I'm off this rock ASAP. I'll be the first person on the ship to be like on the new frontier of, you know, Mars, whatever. And I was like, no, you won't, bro. There's no way. You have a family now and shit. Thank you so much for sharing. Patrick, what did you learn over the break?
I get more and more frustrated with watching big studios and I guess sort of celebrities profit off of making fun of like 2020 and like calling it the worst year ever and trying so hard to relate to things that they clearly don't. Like a great example is I watched the Kevin Hart special and I have no issues with Kevin Hart. I'm not about to like smash Kevin Hart, but in one sentence he was like complaining about how bad 2020 was, and then the next sentence he was like, oh yeah, and I built this $100 million house. And then he had like people over that seemed normal. Obviously I don't know who these people are and stuff like that, and then a bunch of people watched it and loved it. And whenever I hear jokes like that, I'm like, wow, like so many people are like 2020 is the worst year ever. And then those people who say that are people who generally on public platforms have a lot of money. Like those are the people that everyone's sharing and everyone's watching and saying like, oh, look at what they're saying about 2020. And I'm like, wow, I would really like to see someone who actually had a horrible time tell me why they had a horrible time, not someone who built like a $100 million house tell me that they spent, like one of the jokes was that he spent $20,000 on K95 masks. And I was like, oh wait, how did no one like get mad at that? I don't know. And I realized that the like exaggeration makes profits for the people that don't know what they're exaggerating. Wow, that's sort of crazy.
Well, you have to remember, like, I don't want to get into the whole, I mean, people are gonna basically, his job is to relate to people and make them laugh. I don't know, I think this one is hard. This year has been a shitty year for everybody, but it's clearly very disproportionately shitty.
It's less of an issue with the person, more of an issue with the platforms, because we have so much social media at our fingertips nowadays, but what I still see being shared, at least what's recommended to me, are these massive specials and things like that. And I would like to also have like a variety in what's recommended to me and see different points. But clearly that doesn't make money. So that's the thing. I understand that doesn't get the platform viewership and money and ad revenue and yada yada yada. But my question is, why can't they just, throw in one video on my like feed of 10 that's not that?
Have you seen The Social Dilemma?
I have.
Okay, so there's a very simple reason why, and that's because most people probably aren't watching it. And if
Right.
and I mean, some people are, but that's that's the whole thing. Is it's I don't know what's going to happen with the future of the platforms, but I'm sure you've heard me say this before. Like, there's going to be a lost generation for sure. There's like this whole middle area where this whole thing was unregulated, and there's just a whole bunch of people that are going to be messed up from it, and then it's going to get regulated, just like probably ads were for television in the 50s or whatever. So yes. Anyways, this is good. Sophie, what did you learn last week?
I think this was like an end of, this is probably like a week and a half thing. I've been reading a lot more lately, and I don't really usually read very much. But I've noticed I've finished 2 different books, and then went on to another. And I noticed that depending on the book I read, it totally affects my mental state. So I was reading an amazing book called Normal People. But then I was in these like really kind of emotional, depressing parts of the book, and so my mental state followed. And then after I finished that, I went to my this book called Happiness by Matthew Hickow, and it's just all about like mindset and mindfulness. And then I was like uplifted. And now I'm reading I'm reading Making Movies by Sidney Lumet.
That book is the shit.
Yeah, page 29, 30. That is where you got your alignment questions.
For reals?
I saw it. Yep. And now now my mindset is like totally around that, and like just thinking about movies and the way he's talking about things. For my life, I've had reading disorders, but it's been getting a lot better, and so this is the first time that it's been like pleasant to read in a really long time. So yeah, new thing I'm noticing.
Who here has read Making Movies? It's for sure, when it comes to craft, I would say this book transformed the way that I thought about lenses. When I got on set, all the DPs, when I started saying, look bro, let's go 60, blah 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 blah. When I said the lenses, all the DPs were like, what the fuck? And they're like, lenses? And I was like, yes man, thank you very much for sharing. What did I learn over the break? It's more like I got reminded of things because I was home, It's a weird thing to say, but I learned that I can't be home for too long. It kills all of the good things I know I'm doing, mainly in the food arena, and my tummy did not like it. And the problem is I don't have self-control, as you guys know. I'm a monkey just like you. So I ate it all the cheese and the heavy cream and the processed meats. I feasted. Now I can do that for like 2 days or whatever. A week? I'm talking like I almost went a week without anything green entering my belly. It was like rough, y'all, because it was just leftovers, right? This is so much penne alla vodka with sausage, which was processed, by the way, which was delicious. It's just interesting when you start to find shit that does work for you. The rest of the world isn't gonna get it, which again, I kind of knew these things, but I just felt very reminded from the amount of times they said, hey, relax a little, that I'm like, I am relaxed. Now, of course, that doesn't mean like I will concede and give my dad what he wants, right? Because I totally get that. So just some interesting thoughts over the break, but I very much appreciate everybody here. Obviously, there's a lot. This is the beginning of a new year. There's a lot I've been thinking about. Thank you guys so much. Let's kick ass in the new year. Stay focused. Move forward. I love you all. Have a great day. Peace.